Hello again, everyone. Today's video is going to be on number and place value, and I'm going to go over a whole bunch of examples and explanations on how this works. So let's not waste any more time and get to it right now. So the vocabulary we're going to use for today's video in context will include the words digit, which is one of the written signs we use to represent the numbers 1 to 9. As you can see here, I've got numbers 1 to 9 here, and thousands, which is the place value that shows a digit multiplied by 1,000. For example, there are two 1,000s in the number 2,453. And again, I put an example there for you to see. Some other vocabulary words we have are the word decompose. Now, for context of math, decompose means to partition, to break up or split up numbers into their place value parts. And as you can see, I have this example here, 345. I break it up into 340 and 5. And if you're a little confused about why I'm showing that, I will explain this more later in the video. And then we have place value. The value of every digit has in a number. For example, 2,453 has 3 ones, 5 tens, 4 hundreds, and 2 thousands, as you can see here in the place value chart. So I've got some explanations on how number and place value work here. And as you can see, I've got these base 10 blocks here that you're looking at. I've got ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. And I've got some questions here to help us better understand how we're going to do the lesson today. Now, this question I have here is, how many small cubes make a flat square? So we've got the ones base 10 block cube. So what they're asking is, how many of these small cubes here make a flat square? The flat square here is represented by the hundreds, as you can see. So how many does it take? Well, it takes 100 cubes to make a flat square. It takes 100 small cubes, that is, to make a flat square. The second question is, how many small cubes make a large cube? So again, we're looking at the ones here, and those are the small cubes. And how many does it take to make the large cube here? That's in the thousands. So how many cubes, small cubes, does it take? It takes 1,000 cubes. And the last question here is, how many flat squares make a large cube? So here we know in these flat squares, there's 100 here that makes a flat square. I should say there's 100 small cubes that make a flat square. So how many flat squares like this would make the large cube? And we also know that it's going to take 10 flat squares. Okay, so I just wanted to do a quick overview about that before we move on. So here, I just have, again, another outline. It says that each digit in a number represents a different value. The digit 2 appears twice in the number 2,325. The first digit 2 represents 2,000s. So here, the first digit 2 here represents 2,000s. So you can see there's 2,000s here in the big block. The second digit 2 represents 2 tens. So over here in the tens place, you've got 2 tens here representing the 2. We write 2,325 in words as I've underlined here. So that's what it looks like in words. The number sentence 2,325 looks like this: 2,000 plus 300 plus 20 plus 5. Shows how we decompose 2,325 into place value charts. So again, we're just partitioning it out. Okay, that's the new word here. So the first question is, how do we know there are 2,300s in 2,325? 2325. So we know that there are 2300s because 1000 has 10 100s. That means 2000 has 20 100s. So 20 100s plus 3 100s gives us 2300s. That's how we know that. Second question says, how do we know there are 232 tens in 2325? So we know to make 100, we need 10 tens. To make 1000, we will need 100 tens. So 2000 needs 200 tens. So we have 200 tens in the thousands place. We have 30 tens in the hundreds place, and we have 2 tens in the tens place. This gives us 232 tens. Okay. The last question here, what happens when you count on from 2325 in one step of 1000? And again, please remember, count on means to count forward. You're going to count forward. So you're going to count forward from 2325. When we count on from 2325 in one step of 1000, the number will be 3325. So this intro portion has gone on pretty long, so why don't we go ahead and get started on the examples now. And this is pretty straightforward here. It just says write these numbers as numerals. So for letter A, we're just going to write these as numerals, as numbers. So we have 1010, which looks like this. For letter B, we have 1110, which looks like this. For letter C, we have 222, which looks like this. For letter D, we have 1234, which looks like this. And for letter E, we have 4321, which looks like this. Okay, so here we're just going to write out, we're going to partition these numbers out like the example here shows. So for letter A, we have 4035, which looks like this. For letter B, we have 3450, which looks like this. For letter C, we have 3432, which looks like this. And for letter D, we have 4433, which looks like this. So for number 4, we're just going to fill in the place values that they're showing here. Okay, so the example has 5078. So again, you need to read this carefully here, because as you can see, there's no thousands place being shown. Therefore, for the hundreds place, we have to include everything else that's in front of the hundreds. So for hundreds, we're going to have 50, not 0. For 7 tens, it's just standard, it's just 7. And then for the ones place, it's 8 ones. Again, standard is just 8. Okay? So again, you have to look at what they're asking for each place value and put it in the correct spot. Okay? So for letter A, we've got 5078 again. And as you can see, there's no hundreds or thousands place. So we're just going to use what they're giving us, which is the tens and the ones. So for the tens and the ones, you would put the numbers as 507 tens and 8 ones. Because again, they're not giving you hundreds or thousands. So you would include not only the 7, but everything else in front of it, which is the 0 and the 5. Same thing for letter B. For 8,336, you're going to put in the correct numbers where they're asking, and those numbers would be as such: 83 hundreds, 3 tens, and 6 ones. Because again, there's no thousands place, so you not only include the 3 for 300s, but the 8 as well. For the tens place, the 3 is the same, and for the ones place, the 6 is the same. Now for letter C, same thing. We've got 8,336, but we don't have a hundreds or a thousands place. So just like what you did in A, you're going to do the same thing in C. So the numbers you would put in the tens and the ones would be as such: 833 tens and 6 ones. For this part here, we have the number 35,374 has 5 digits. Look at this place value chart. So here's a place value chart showing the 5 digits. The digit 3 appears twice in 35,374. So you can see there's the digit 3 here and here. So what is the value of each digit 3? So what is the value of the 2 digits here? Well, they are 30,300. And as I said earlier, we read 35,374 as what I've just underlined here. And the question is, how many thousands does 35,374 have? Okay, so just think about what we did previously and keep that same idea when you're answering how many thousands does 35,374 have. Okay, so it has 35 thousands, and then there's the S. I apologize for blocking it a bit, but it's there. The next question is, how many hundreds are there? And again, looking in that place value, the chart that they're showing you, we know there are 353 hundreds because, again, you include not only the 3, but all the numbers in front of it. Okay, so for letter A, you're just going to turn these words into numerals here. Okay, and so for letter A, you would write this as 17,623. For letter B, it would be written as 27,326. Letter C would be written as 7,263. And for letter D, it would be written as 72,063. So here you're just going to identify what the value of the numeral that's underlined here. Okay, so for letter A, that number would be written as 8,000. For letter B, that number would be written as 80,000. For letter C, that number would be written as 4,000. For letter D, now there's 2 of them here, and in fact for D, E, and F, there are 2 numbers underlined, so make sure you write both, please. You would write them as 50,500. For letter E, you would write it as 70,070, and for letter F, you would write it as 2,200. So here, we're just going to ask how many more thousands in 23,450 than in 19,450. Okay, so just how many more? So the answer there would be 4 more thousands. For letter B, how many more hundreds in 32,400 than in 31,300? And then the answer would be 11 more hundreds. And for letter C, how many more hundreds in 41,835 than in 39,735? And then the answer would be 21 more hundreds. Okay, so here's the bonus activity, and I'm going to have 3 activities for you to do. Let's take a closer look at these now. For number 1, you're just going to fill in each bar model to show the place value charts. So I've got 3 examples, or actually there's 3 that are already filled in for letter A. They filled in 1,004 for that number. For letter C, they filled in 40. So you've got the idea already with 3 examples of what to do for the rest. Okay, so just do the same thing for the others. For number 2, they just want you to fill in the missing numbers for this here. Okay, so they're giving you the 2 numbers here. So just fill in what the other 3 missing numbers are. Okay, and so for number 3, they basically want you to fill in this table with what the numbers are showing here. All right, so you got a number chart for A, B, and C. I'm sorry, you got a number column for A, B, and C here. Then you got thousands, hundreds, and tens. How many thousands are there? And they give you an example. How many hundreds are there? They gave you an example. And again, make sure you keep in mind what that example is showing for the hundreds and do the same thing for the others. And then for the tens, there's no example, but you can see what they're asking, and the others do the same thing. All right. And I will have an answer key in the description down below for you to look at. So that'll do it for today's video. Had a lot of information to give you, so I didn't want to mess around and talk too long. So again, thank you so much for spending part of your day with me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.